I started retro game collecting in 2025. Yes, I know the market is absolutely terrible and is probably the worst time to get into this hobby, but that's exactly what I did. But it is better late than never to get started in this hobby, right? I made some rules for myself for this collection journey. Number 1, CIB or near complete games only. Now this rule does not apply to Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games. Those can be loose. Number 2, stick to a select few consoles for now. Number 3, make sure to make time to play games in the collection each week. This was a very important rule to me. Now with these rules, I also made some goals for myself throughout the year. Now these goals may extend past the 2025 year, but it's always fun working towards a great goal. Number 1, get all of the first party Nintendo GameCube games minus Pokemon box. I'm not sure if I want to take on that price tag yet. Number 2, collect all the handheld Pokemon games from Game Boy all the way up to DS. I played the first 2 generation Pokemon games growing up, so I wanted to relive those memories, but also play some generations I'd never actually played before. My last goal on this list was to collect cartoon related games from Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and other networks I enjoyed growing up watching. I find enjoyment in cartoon related games, and usually they come in a cheaper price point than other games. Now, one of the first things I wanted to get in my collection when I started collecting was the original GameCube. Before I started collecting, I was watching a ton of videos about the GameCube, and I kind of fell in love with the GameCube even before I owned it again.
Nintendo GameCube.
So I went the eBay route and I did get a Indigo GameCube as well as a Simpsons Hit and Run. With Simpsons Hit and Run being the first game in the collection at the time, I played a lot of it. I really enjoy the GTA style of gameplay. Also, I really enjoy The Simpsons. I actually have a Simpsons tattoo. So it was really awesome to play through that, and I haven't played that probably since it came out. Now that I have the GameCube back in my possession, I really wanted to focus on getting some first-party launch titles that came out for the GameCube, like Luigi's Mansion and Wave Race. The attachment I got to the eerie but cozy ghost adventure of Luigi's Mansion was completely unreal. I can't really say the same for Wave Race. I don't know if I am terrible at Wave Race or if it's just not as good as I remember it, but I definitely enjoyed playing Luigi's Mansion way more than I did Wave Race, so there's that. With the goal of wanting to collect first-party Nintendo games for the GameCube, I wanted to branch out from something I may not normally pick out, which would be like a Metroid Prime and the Animal Crossing series. Now, I haven't really started the Metro Prime games, but boy, did I play a lot of Animal Crossing.
Here is the true story.
Of 4 friends picked to live in a video game.
And find out what happens when they stop being themselves.
And start being someone else.
Animal Crossing for Nintendo GameCube.
The simple but relaxing game style of this game that I really never gave a chance in the past, I found myself popping it in every single Sunday and playing the entire day. From talking to townspeople, to fishing, to building my collection within the museum, I really dug deep into this game and I was falling in love with this game, and I'm glad I didn't pass it up this go around and I actually gave it a fair chance because it's become one of my favorite games of all time. One thing I bought this year that actually was not planned was the Game Boy player for the GameCube. I've never had this accessory growing up or even in past collections, but I found myself really enjoying it, and it's almost my preferred way of playing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. And of course, buying the Game Boy player made me want to buy more Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. And what's a better way of doing it than looking back at the goal and wanting to get some of the first generation Pokemon games that I had as a child. I went to my local retro video game store and I actually picked up Red and Silver, and I haven't had these games since I was a kid, so it was really nice to add these back to my collection and start playing them again. Another thing that was not planned for this year is how much I got into the Nintendo DS. While looking for Pokemon DS games, I realized how much DS I really never played growing up. Games like New Super Mario Bros. And the Mystery Dungeon series and the N64 remakes like Super Mario 64 DS or Diddy Kong Racing DS. I didn't think I was going to be into so many games that use the touch controls or the microphone feature, but I was really getting into them. The original DS is really growing on to me about being a contender as being one of my favorite consoles. Now, as the year was going on and my collection was growing game by game, I did want to make sure I remembered the goals I had and was working towards them. One of the goals was cartoon related games, something a little less serious, usually more cheaper, and a lot of fun in my opinion. I find myself gravitating towards cartoon games because it really does bring me back to being a kid and watching these shows for the first time for new episodes on TV. Now, I really wanted to get Cartoon Network games and Nickelodeon games that made it to a gaming platform. And I was actually able to add a good amount of games that fit this genre. I picked up Ed, Edd and Eddy and Kids Next Door for the GameCube. I got Cartoon Network Racing and Family Guy on the PS2. Even handhelds got the attention, like Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob on GBA. Even Adventure Time on DS. Are these games the greatest games of all time? They're far from it, but they make me happy, and I like popping in a game for a show that I used to watch, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm a kid again after school. I'm going to continue buying these games because one, I find enjoyment in them, but two, sometimes you can find some really good games that you may not give a chance to, like Ice Age 2 from the GameCube. It's actually really good. Now, I know I didn't talk about every single game that I picked up this year, but we are reaching over 120 games in 2025, and that's pretty freaking awesome. Yes, I know this is not the biggest and craziest collection you've ever seen on the internet, but it's realistic. I'm just a normal guy with a normal job, and I like playing retro games in my free time. So yeah, 2025 ended up being the year I truly fell back in love with the retro gaming. Not just the games themselves, but the memories, the stories, the feeling of excitement every time I found something new for the collection. The late night playing Animal Crossing, reliving Pokemon battles I had as a kid, or booting up some random cartoon games just for the laughs. It brought me back. And honestly, that's what the whole journey is about. Not chasing the rarest finds or building the biggest shelf of games, but rediscovering the joy that came from holding that controller and getting lost into another world. Here's to more games, more memories, more late night nostalgia in the years to come. If you ever thought about getting back into collecting, maybe this is your sign to start. Thanks for watching. I'm Cameron, and this is Retro Carnage.